because I can see him, and now we put him on air. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or on Nesson locally in Boston, our friend Charles Davis is on the show now, who does such an awesome job for NFL Media, CBS, covering the NFL draft now, pumping out tons of mock drafts. One of the nicest guys out there, and he is wearing a Masters hat right now, so Charles understands the assignment. My friend, welcome back to the show. I very much appreciate the time. Happy week out from the NFL draft, my friend, to you and yours.
Thank you so much, and the same to you. Thanks for having me back, first and foremost. You're right. We have the assignment, quote unquote, right? Those of us who are lucky enough to work on the draft, going to be on TV, blah, blah, blah. But it's really happy to you and every fan out there that's invested in the draft. And I think you know as well as I do, and you've really hit that time frame age-wise where you saw the draft come of age. Okay, I'm not trying to do puns or, plays on words, right? But the draft truly has come of age. And I remember early days of doing the draft, even at Radio City Music Hall, I knew the shift was happening with how people were responding to it, where I could leave Radio City Music Hall after a night of draft coverage and people pressing their draft analysis typed out, bound, the whole thing into my arms. If I had wanted to, I could carry 15, 20 booklets back every night. Just mock drafts, analysis of players, the whole deal. And that was before people had access to the All-22 tape. Think about where we are now with everyone having their own analysis saying, Davis, you don't know what you're talking about. I watched 6 games of that player. And I think he is this, while you think he's that. I'm right, you're wrong. And you know something? You might be. I mean, each person has their own analysis. But yeah, we're about to get there. And let's face it, Pittsburgh, first draft since what, the 1940s that's held in that originated in Pittsburgh. But that one originated by speakerphone in Pittsburgh, and everyone else was in satellites wherever their places were and called in that way. This one, live bodies, and let's see if they break Detroit's record for attendance.
I'll give you, Charles, just 2 quick draft anecdotes from yours truly. I'm probably a little older than, I only say that because I look young. I'm gonna turn 43 in a couple months. It sucked when I was like,
I'll trade you mine for your 43.
Right. So when I was like, I mean this. I don't say that. When I was like 20, I would get the kids menu at restaurants. Like, it sucked. You can say lots of things about me. I think I do look young. Just say that. My first draft memory. 1991. So the Giants, I'm a Giants fan. Giants beat the Bills in Super Bowl 25. I'm watching the 1991 NFL draft with my father and grandfather. Dan McGuire, Mark's brother, gets drafted by the Seattle Seahawks in round 1. I remember my grandfather saying he's going to win a Super Bowl. I always remember that. And then the Giants took Gerard Bunch at the end of that draft, the running back. So I've been watching the draft for a long time.
You've been invested for a while.
Oh, since the early 90s. And I remember...
You go back to Dr. Z. Paul Zimmerman.
Paul Zimmerman, who the late great Paul Zimmerman, who covered the draft for Sports Illustrated, obviously, absolutely. And then when the Giants had the 4th pick in 2004 and traded for Eli Manning, I remember going on Big Blue Interactive, the Giants message board, every day for like 2 months straight, saying Eli Manning or Robert Gallery. If people remember Robert Gallery, who the Raiders took, the left tackle from Iowa. So yeah, this has been going on for a long time, and I have like goosebumps right now thinking about all of this. It's awesome to have you on the show, my friend.
Thank you. I love it. And very quickly on all of that, if you go back and read about the draft and where it's come from, and, it was 20 plus rounds, it was an hour between picks, it was all these things. Ernie Accorsi wrote a great book, the former GM of the Giants, who won a couple Super Bowls, the whole deal. In fact, orchestrated the Eli Manning trade with Phillip Rivers, et cetera, right? He was with the Browns early in his career, and he talked about this is why the draft is so interesting, because you never know. And what he mentioned was the year that one of those years he was there, Paul Brown, who ran everything, wanted a quarterback. And in that draft, there were 3 guys he deemed worthy of taking with their pick. And I believe they picked 6th or 7th, whatever it was, in the first round. It's pretty, there weren't a lot of teams then. All 3 quarterbacks came off the board. The 3rd one came off the pick before theirs. And in the book, Ernie Accorsi describes Paul Brown. They're all around like a conference table and a speakerphone with the league. and said Paul Brown, when he heard the third quarterback's name called by the other team, his head hit the table and he's just down. And of course, this is Paul Brown. He's the man. So no one's even breathing in this room. Like, oh God, what are we going to do? Right. And he said from the desk after like a minute, you hear this disembodied voice of Paul Brown say, well, I guess we have to take Jim Brown.
What a consolation prize, right? Maybe the best football player ever. Pretty amazing. I love that. I love
NFL
it.
Draft.
That is awesome. That is awesome, man. All right. Let's talk some NFL draft this year. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe your last mock came out at the end of March, right? On NFL.com. I actually have it up right now.
It's so outdated and the whole deal. and my friend, that's the one I threw out there as a nod to my year before. Meaning, the year before on that mock draft, I had given the Giants Jackson Dart as the third quarterback. Okay, 1, 2, 3, right? Because you remember how the quarterbacks came off the board, right? So I went 1, 2, 3. The third one was going to be Jackson Dart, and I gave him to the Giants at 3, and people lost their mind. And I understood it. And I said in there, it might not be here, but I know the Giants like Jackson Dart a lot. He makes sense, blah, 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 blah. Maybe you don't wait for your quarterback. Well, as we all know, they did and came back and got him later at 26. So I had that part right. In this one, I went Ty Simpson at 3 to Arizona. And again, I don't believe that he goes 3 to Arizona. But does Arizona have interest? Oh, yeah. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Could they circle back later and find him in there and pull a Jackson Dart as the Giants did? So I need to do one more. I've got to figure out a way to get that done before draft time because that needs to be my draft of record. This one was much more of a, hey, you guys remember this from last year? Here we go.
I love this, by the way. We've looked it up. The pick that Paul Brown hung his head about when with Ernie Accorsi in that story, the quarterback that got picked before Jim Brown, pretty good one. Pro Football Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion Len Dawson. Not bad. Len Dawson, Jim Brown in a back-to-back.
That was Len Dawson going to what? Did he go to Pittsburgh?
With Chiefs, right? I don't know if the Chiefs drafted him, but that's where he had his success.
Kansas City. Remember Pittsburgh. At that time?
Yep, Pittsburgh. 100%. You're right about that.
They weren't doing
Pittsburgh.
a fine draft. He went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's in the AFL at that point. You're right. Yeah.
And then gets to Kansas City and finds his great reward with Hank Stram, who never called him Len, as you might remember. If you listen to the old NFL tapes, he always called him Leonard. All right, here we go, Leonard. Here we go, Leonard.
They matriculated the ball down the field to a Super Bowl 4, 23-7 win over the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. 65 toss trap power.
NFL's the best, as I know you agree with me on that. So why don't we start with Ty Simpson? So look, I think you explained yourself. I think it's pretty I read it. It's pretty obvious what you meant there, right? I don't think Simpson's going to go third, but I think that this will be the team player match. As time has gone on since then, and that was March 26th that mock draft was released, are you more steeled in that belief that Ty Simpson, by hook or by crook, will be an Arizona Cardinal, whether Thursday or Friday night? Probably more likely the end of Thursday would be my guess.
Yeah, I think you're probably on target on that one, and there's so many things that come into it. The thing that keeps me from going all in that this is going to happen Thursday night is remembering the Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder draft that wasn't that long ago. And we remember going into the draft, I was one of the people. I think I gave Malik Willis to Pittsburgh. I don't know if I had Kenny Pickett in my first round. Ridder, I'm not sure I had either. But as it turned out, it flipped. And it became Pickett going to Pittsburgh and then no other quarterback to the third round. Now, I don't believe that to be the case this time. I think we're going to get a quarterback in the first round. There's a very good chance someone trades back in, i.e. Arizona, and maybe takes Simpson in the first round. But he's not getting out of the second. And then after that, I'm not so sure people are going to take so many bites of the apple quickly because, a lot of times, as you know, once a guy goes or a position starts, we start a run. I don't know that there's going to be a run at quarterbacks this year. We may wait again till the third, fourth round before we see all those quarterbacks start to come off the board. But I do think that we know Mendoza's locked in at 1. Simpson has that chance to go. I think he's a second-round quarterback, not strictly because of talent, but because of history. Go back and look over the last 20 years, quarterbacks with less than 20 starts in college, and check out the hit rate. And it's not very good. Cam Newton is the top hit rate out of those guys by far. Okay. And then when you start to play it on down, it's not great. So I would love to have seen Ty Simpson take another year in college for his NFL longevity. But I think you might agree with me and tell me if you think I'm out to lunch here. I think he and his camp did a magnificent job of understanding that there was no traffic as the number 2 quarterback.
Yeah, and also, I'll take it a step farther, Charles, and the name is escaping me at the moment, like Tyler will let me know on our show crew. Alabama has a 5-star quarterback who was like, if Ty Simpson stayed...
Yeah, Keelan, yes. What's his name? I guess he had a big spring
Russell.
game.
Keelan Russell. Thank you. So, like, Ty Simpson could have stayed at Alabama, and Keelan Russell was probably going to start. So I think he, like, read the tea leaves correctly here and goes, this is my opportunity now to enter the draft.
Stay in the draft and not go NIL somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true. Also could have left. That you're 100% right about that.
Could have commanded a big ticket that way. But once Dante Moore said he's going back to Oregon, once we saw Trinidad Chambliss really pushing hard to get back to Ole Miss, and now it looks like he's going there.
Yep.
Now the traffic cleared. Doug, Nussmeier, right? Garrett Nussmeier had the injury last year, so we didn't see the Nussmeier of 2024. Carson Beck went to the national championship game. But did he play better in 2025 than he did before in 2020? I don't think so. So all of that kind of cleared. I think I got to give the Simpson camp a ton of credit for reading it correctly. Plus, son of a coach, raised in it just like Nussmeier. So if anyone's going to break this pattern of 20 years, less than 20 starts and be good, Simpson has a chance to do that. He's very talented. Footwork is great. Understands the game. Raised in it. Phenomenal young man. I still don't take him before the second round, but that's just me.
You bet on this Monday. Nick Costo's here with you on Westwood One Sports. Our guest, the great Charles Davis, NFL Media, CBS, talking the NFL draft, and we absolutely love it. Open-ended question here, Charles. And I know you said you're going to have one more mock draft. That'll be the mock draft of record. Since your last one was released back on March 26th, what is the one thing that you feel way differently about? And this could be based on your evaluation, based on something you've heard, something that you feel differently about today, Monday, April 13th, than you did on March 26th when you turned in your last NFL mock draft and another one still to come.
I think Monroe Freeland, the tackle from Georgia, feels like the momentum is really strong for him. The force is with him right now. Okay. I'm having people call me that I talk to. And, it's funny when we say that, right? It's almost like we're trying to impress everybody. I talk to such and such, and, I get calls from such and such. I don't mean it that way at all. It's just this is what we do as the job, right? We all kind of talk to each other and people, and we're all trying to chase what rumor really works. But it certainly sounds like Monroe Freeling may go a lot higher than maybe I anticipated, the tackle from Georgia. Again, a guy who's a one-year starter essentially. But boy, his athletic gifts are, oh my goodness. Like someone was mentioning, if Cleveland takes him at 6, would you understand? And I was like, I think I would now.
Can I follow and ask you this? Can I ask you this question? Yeah. Could you see, and I think this is interesting, right? Because Freeling, and you know way more about this than me, right? Maui Noah maybe profiles as a guard, right? Spencer Fano can play any position on the line. Like Freeling, I had thought was kind of bandied about as being like a pure left tackle. I've seen some people say, could Arizona take him at 3 and play him at right and Paris Johnson's on the left? So could he go as high as 3, Charles?
It's legit. And it's legit what you're talking about, too, because nowadays in the NFL, the pass rushers try and find, as Jim Schwartz used to tell me all the time, we just try and find the fish. Where's the fish? Why do you think Myles Garrett lined up all over the place? Who's the one we can get to on a certain set, scheme, play? Who's the guy we think can't block him? The better pass rushers don't just line up on one side now. They go where it's going to be most advantageous. So having 2 tackles who can protect your quarterback, we are long past left tackle is the dancer, protects the blind side because most quarterbacks are right-handed, and the right side guy is your power run guy and all that. We're well past that. Like the Eagles kind of shattered it when they won the Super Bowl with Foles, Because you remember, Jason Peters got hurt. There was all that discussion. Should they move Lane Johnson to left? And they thought it would weaken them in two spots. So they left Lane Johnson at the right side and survived with Halapoulivaati Vaitai and won a Super Bowl. Okay, you got two people out there, and those pass rushers come from everywhere. So, yes, that's not out of line that the Cardinals say, let's go ahead and do that. Make ourselves big up front.
We only have a couple of minutes left. I feel compelled to ask you this, and I want to be clear before I ask the question that this is not like, hey, I want you to kind of like speak ill of one of your colleagues. That's not what. So I'm going to ask you about what Daniel Jeremiah just put out in his top 10 mock draft that was on SportsCenter last night with Rich Eisen. So this is not me like disagreeing with him. I just find it interesting, right? You guys have more sources than me. You watch the tape. So I will always defer to you guys when you come on the show, right? He has Jeremiah Love going 9th overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. We know the Chiefs just signed Kenneth Walker in free agency. Now, like I try to be the voice of like the fan on the show, right? The people that are listening to the show, watching the show. I see that and think, well, that doesn't make any sense because they just signed Walker. But like, I really respect Jeremiah, so maybe there's something to that. So this is not like, hey, say your colleague's wrong. Just like, does Charles Davis envision a scenario where that could actually happen? That if he's on the board, the Chiefs double dip at running back and pair Love with Kenneth Walker? We have about a minute for the answer to this question.
Listen, DJ is about as good as there is in the business. Following Mike Mayock was as good as there was in the business as a talking head side. Those are my heroes. Those are my guys. The reason I say that it could happen is I think there's a lot of what happens on top. I haven't seen his top 10, but I'm anticipating that certain slots are getting filled for certain reasons. And all of a sudden you look up and maybe the best player in the draft hasn't been taken yet. And Kansas City is a squad that's they're not in the world of we turn down great players. And remember, a lot of times people pick people and go, well, you're already loaded at that position. Well, you maybe can't be as loaded as if you have Love and Kenneth Walker. So I don't know what happened up top, but that's why it would make sense to me. Brett Veach, Andy Reid are not going to turn down a great player. Can you imagine Andy Reid diagramming for Jeremiah Love? I think he would like that.
Oh, man. I mean, just it's thinking about it. I'm not saying he's like the same player as Brian Westbrook. Like he's more of like a true running back, and Westbrook was awesome too. But you think about that and it gets you excited. And just to give you the context, Mendoza, Bailey, Maui Noah, Bain, Tate, Fano, Arvell Reese 7th in DJ's latest top 10 mock, Makai Lemon 8th to the Saints, and then Love 9th to the Kansas City Chiefs, just for that context. So
that's a heck of a group. And for Reese to go 7th, that tells you that DJ might be hearing people are a little worried about the conversion because everyone immediately assumes he's Micah Parsons. Parsons had to convert, and he did it. Not everybody converts and becomes Micah Parsons.
I got to tell you something, man. I can't wait for this. This is the best. So you'll have one more mock draft dropping on NFL.com. Just so you know, you're very generous. You're good in our book forever. Bill is going to text you or email Andrew Howard when we get, maybe we get you on one more time before the draft. We love you. Very much appreciate the time, my friend.
Thanks a lot. And continued success to you. You keep doing your thing. Keep having fun out there. And thanks for letting guys like me come on the show with you.